Hey, I'm Steve, and I want to demonstrate a really cool feature of a Better Camera version 1.7.8, which I just released build 1001. So you have to have this build in order to use this feature. But this is pretty cool for those of you who enjoy, as I do, the LevelUp aircraft. So I currently have that open here. On my computer, it comes standard with LevelUp that you get 5 models of the aircraft, all the different NG from 600, 700, 800, 900, and ER and NG. So all of these models are in one folder, and they're all named, .acf files within that folder. And what's really cool about that, and it would be without ABC, this would be really painful, is that you can have one set of shared camera views for all 5 aircraft, and you don't have to start over. So if you've already got quick views, or if you've been using ABC for a while and you've already got at least one set of consistent views that you've defined for one of these aircraft, I'm going to show you in this short video with a Better Camera how you can easily turn that one set of consistent views that you like for the one aircraft and extend it to all 5 in one fell swoop. So first, I just want to demonstrate that I have 5. I've already set up my cockpit views. I'm just going to go through them real quick. So numpad 1, I was already in numpad 1. Here we go. Numpad 1 takes you here. This is quick view number 1 means that you hit numpad 1 to get there. This is just an ABC menu that lets you go straight to them. So numpad 2 takes you to this view. So I want you to also kind of look carefully at where I am, because the aircraft are slightly different sizes, although I don't think the cockpits are actually different, but they might be. But ABC doesn't care, because it can actually place the camera in a better spot depending on the metrics of that aircraft. So it actually does a really good job of approximating the right place, regardless of changes in CG and other things. So even within versions of LevelUp, if a new version comes out where the Zebo mod source aircraft mod actually changed the CG, if you know what that means, normally that would mean you'd have to re-memorize all your favorite views, or you'd have to use another plugin like XCamera and go in and, I don't know if you can do it in the tool or if you in the plugin, or if you have to do this in the data file itself, but go in and add the CG change back in, or the deltas back in. You don't have to do any of that with ABC. It's all automated. So it'll do that for you. It'll detect it and adjust it automatically. And this is actually that same thing being applied across 5 different aircraft in this case. So here we are in 2, and you see we're looking at the CDUs here. The aircraft's not turned on. This is just to show the views. Number 3 is this view, which I use as my engine start view. Of course, you can have your own views. I'm just showing you these are mine. 4 is kind of like just looking down at the flaps and the throttle quadrant and all that stuff, as well as the radios. 5 is looking forward in mine from the center. 6 is my co-pilot seat. 7 is looking out the left window. Now, these are the ones that are going to be not preserved perfectly. Just warn you that in advance, because my algorithm doesn't yet handle when they're really far back, but it handles cockpit views really well. So 8 would be the overhead view, and you can see even with the ABC status bar here, you can almost see every bit of the cockpit panel. And then 9 would be looking out the other back window, side window at the wing. All right, I'm going to go back to 1 now. Okay, so to show you what you do, now that you've got them set up, so this is as if you've just finished setting them all up. And of course, to memorize views, use the same system that you've always used in X-Plane. This is not XCamera. And if you have XCamera enabled, you'll have to temporarily disable XCamera to use this feature. Because XCamera, of course, is a completely different, it takes over all the same numpad keys. So you don't want that, trust me, for this feature. So you might want to disable it, or at least temporarily disable it while you try out this feature. So now I'm going to drag this window over. This is on my Mac, this is the folder that has these files in it. And you'll see here, the one that I'm currently flying, as you might have noticed, was the the 737-800NG, which the file name is 73780.acf, which is down here. And the corresponding ABC file is this file. This is what gets written when you memorize 1 to any number of views in ABC. If you've never memorized a view in ABC, but you already had a preps file because you've already configured views in X-Plane's camera, those will be automatically imported the minute you start up and load that aircraft. And it doesn't matter which of the 5 aircraft you load for this demo, as long as you check to make sure you have an ABC file, which you will if you already had a file before, if you were using X-Plane views. If you weren't, you're going to have to go through the process real quick of memorizing them. By the way, I'll just show you real quick how to memorize them. Oh, I just screwed that up. Let me just fix one thing and then I'll continue. Okay, sorry about that. I moved the window to where I wouldn't be able to retrieve it easily. So, okay, so just real quick, I'll show you how to rememorize a view just to give you an example. So here's numpad 5. Let's say we want to rememorize it exactly as it is right now. You can hold down the control key and hit the numpad 5 key, and you'll get a prompt in ABC that says, are you sure you want to memorize this? You just say yes by doing you hit the key again. You just hit it twice in a row. Now I've memorized it. That's just a safety feature. You can turn that off. And the minute you memorize a view in ABC, it gets written out to disk. None of the risk of X-Plane, how when you memorize views in X-Plane, if it crashes before you quit or change aircraft, you're out of luck. You lost those views. So in ABC's case, that's not how it works. So ABC's already written the views out to disk. So once you've saved any memorized view, you're done. All your views that you have up till now will be saved. And then I got to redrag the window over. And then you don't even have to quit X-Plane for this demo, okay? You don't have to quit X-Plane. So it doesn't keep writing the file. So once you've memorized a view, you know that ABC is not going to touch this abc.txt file again until you write another view. So for this is the aircraft we were flying. So this is the file, 737-80NG_abc.txt. This has all the text data that's needed for these views by ABC. And what we're going to do is we're simply going to rename it. And what you can do is just get rid of everything but ABC. Okay. So now down here, we have a file called abc.txt, and there's no other files in this directory that have abc.txt in them. Just FYI, I've already purged any previous ones I had. So now there's not even one for the 80 anymore, okay? Just so you know. So now what I'm going to do is, just to show you that this works, I'm going to switch to, let's say, the 900. Now let's go to the 700. Okay, I'm going to go to the 700 NG and start new flight, and hopefully it just loads up perfectly quickly and we don't waste a lot of time on this. And once it's loaded, you'll see that all the views will work from the get-go. If you actually looked in the, let's see, I can actually show that to you. Let's see. While it's doing that, I'll look for this. If you look in the, I have to put ... If you look in the log.txt file, here we go. So it's still loading, unfortunately. But if you look in the log.txt file, you'll see some. I've purged all the lines for this demo that aren't ABC lines, so you can search for those if you want. But you'll see right here it says ABC found a generic abc.txt file in the same directory as the plane we're loading, which is the 737-7_70NG. So then it's going to import all those quick views into it in lieu of importing from the preps file. So if you had a preps file, it's going to skip it if you do it this way. And it's going to go straight to these previously defined views in ABC. Just move that back out of the way and we'll go back over here. So here we are, and I'm going to hit something other than numpad 1 because I think we're already at numpad 1. So I'm going to hit, it doesn't say it, but we'll see it. I'm going to hit numpad 2. And look where we are. We've got the CDUs. And if you compare this to the earlier scene, if you rewind the video, it should be pretty damn close. It won't be exactly the same because I think these are different sized aircraft. And as a result, things do get scaled slightly differently. But it doesn't matter because this is a pretty close view. And if you didn't like this view, you could always fine tune it and resave it as a specific file for this aircraft, in which case ABC will always load that instead, right? It's only going to load this abc.txt file if you don't already have one of the underscore abc.txts that's specific to the aircraft. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, I renamed it, so if we went back to the 80, it would also load abc.txt, not the original 80 version. And the reason I mention that is because one of the ways you can do this is as you find things you want to change across all of your views for this aircraft, you just change it on the most recent one you happen to be in, and then you rename that file to be abc.txt because all the other data is preserved exactly as it was before. So let's go to numpad 3, numpad 4. We'll go back to numpad 1 here. There's my numpad 1. You can compare these if you want. Numpad 6, 5, and then 8. And then I'm going to do 7 and 9 next. You notice the 8 is really the identical view, no difference. 7 is going to be looking out the window, and I predicted this would happen because this aircraft is shorter. We have to move a little bit to the left to get back to where the window should be. Or actually, it turns out we got to move right. I went the wrong way, right, because it's shorter. And you can see that because the wing's not even there. So we probably have to move a little bit like even to this next. Well, I guess this will do. Yeah, this is pretty compatible. Now, here's the thing. If we resave this, then we're going to clone this camera view, or we're going to create a new underscore abc.txt file so that from now on, this aircraft won't be sharing views with the other ones. So this is really a trade-off you have to decide on. Do you care so much about this wing view? There's probably a way for you to come up with one that'll work correctly in all the different length aircrafts, but another thing is I'm going to work on this algorithm and try to improve it. The data that I'm writing out to the disk in that file today is sufficient for me to write a better algorithm that tries to put the camera in the right place. But there's no record of where the windows are, so I won't be able to get it that way. It'll just be math, and if I get it right, I get it right. Otherwise, who knows? I think it probably is too hard of a problem because each iteration of this plane at the different sizes, someone has gone in and manually reorganized the plane to make it match. And I seriously doubt there's an easy way to algorithmically put the camera at the window. And 9 will be the same way. In fact, 9's even worse. So you have to kind of jump forward using ABC's skip commands. And I think it's this window. And then we'll just, but I didn't save the other one, so I'm not going to save this one. So that's unfortunate. But the rest of the views, all the other views that are cockpit views that I saved, are identical, and they're already there. They come by default. Oh, I didn't show you numpad 0, sorry. So numpad 0 takes you to looking at the EFB, electronic flight bag. And so that's basically it. All you had to do to get this was memorize the views in one of the planes, and I'll skip the recording of this. You don't have to wait, but we'll switch to the longer plane, one of the longer planes. Let's do the ER. We'll just switch to that. I'm going to pause the recording. And because there isn't another file, and I didn't rename this, I didn't save or change this one, so it's going to be the exact same views again. Let me just pause, and then I'll continue when it's loaded. Okay, it's almost done. At least that's what it claims. I don't like to edit, so I just do it live. Okay, there we are. So we're back now. We're in this plane. This is a different, yet a different plane. This is the 900ER, so it's a longer plane. Those Windows views are still going to be wrong, but let's do numpad 0 to show you that one. There's the EFB, numpad 1, numpad 2. They're all identical. There's really no difference. And that's partly because the cockpits of all the planes are probably identical anyway. But even if they weren't, we'll come back to that one. Even if they weren't identical, so what? They're close enough that almost all the views will just work. And you're always welcome to fork those views. So you could use this just once to seed the views, and then you never have to use that generic abc.txt file again, because it's nice to be able to make changes. So what you can do is we can go ahead and make the change for this one. If we change this one to be here and we rememorize it, control numpad 7 twice, and then we go over here to 9. It was close. It wasn't as bad, just luckily. So now we'll do memorize numpad 9. And having done that, we actually did two things. One is we created a new abc.txt file, and then which is going to be the underscore version that has this file name in it. So it'll be this aircraft now. All the views so far, plus these two that we changed, will now be in the new version of this, only for this aircraft. And two, we've actually, because we memorized them, we've actually memorized them through to the preps.txt as well. So ABC does make it so that every time you memorize a view using the X-plane control numpad keys, as long as you have this feature enabled in ABC, obviously, then, which is on by default, then it will write through to the X-plane version. So you'll end up with two, you'll have a backup. So if ABC stopped working, you'd still have the views memorized for this plane in the preps.txt for X-plane's built-in quick looks feature. So I'll hit numpad 1 again. So now what I'm going to do is switch back to I don't need to show you. I think you'll believe me. I'll stop here. But basically what I have now, actually, let me quickly move that window back over. Hang on. Okay, sorry. So here we have this folder again, and now you'll see that there's a 737_9E NG abc.txt, which was created from this aircraft that we just modified. And this version of the file has all the same views. If you compare the numbers, you'll see, except for 7 and 9. Those are the only ones that changed. So this is really a copy of abc.txt down here. It's just the 7 and 9 have been swapped out. So you could decide that you want to just delete this file and rename this one to abc.txt, but that's a lot of juggling. You probably don't care. I think this is really just useful for the bootstrapping problem. So that's basically all you have to do is to bootstrap your views. You define one of them, take that abc.txt file, rename it, and then open any of the other ones, and you'll immediately inherit those views. And if you want to adjust them, you can. And from then on, they'll be adjusted for each of the different aircraft. And it'll work as it always does. And the cool thing is, if you change, if the underlying model changes at all, ABC will accommodate that. A demo of that real quick, I can show you that part, is that if we just put the camera anywhere in the cockpit, it's best in the cockpit. So let's say we're looking to the right a little bit, right here. Just kind of imagine where this view is in this cockpit. And then we can go to the ABC tracking menu here, and I happen to have a bunch of AI aircraft. And so if I switch to, let's say, this Vans, and this is a 737-900, right? It's a pretty big plane. But if we switch to this Vans, you'll notice ABC puts the camera in almost the identical spot in a much smaller cockpit. This is what I was telling you. I just wanted to sort of give you a prover of that. So basically, wherever you put the camera in one cockpit, ABC is able to replicate it in another cockpit. So it's finding the view, it's remapping it based on the difference in size and the metrics that it has on file for each of these aircraft. These are AI aircraft. But if this was a user aircraft because you switched to a new aircraft, you could share that same abc.txt file and it would work. However, in this case, these are just showing the same view preserved across different targets. Separately from this, ABC allows you to use the existing numpad assignments for this aircraft. So these are different. These are not the same as what I had in the other plane. This particular Cirrus had its own abc.txt already. So those get loaded for this one. Everything is by the aircraft directory. So this is getting the files out of where the Cirrus lives. The other one was getting them out of where that other aircraft lived, the LevelUp. And you can also just say next target, track next, and it loops around. So you can take the cockpit the camera in any cockpit and loop around in ABC seamlessly. And you can also return to the last cockpit you were in by using a keyboard shortcut, something you can't do in X-Plane normally. Normally, you can't just go back where you were unless you're using the very specific toggle feature where you can hit numpad 1, for example, and toggle back and forth. You can do that. But if I was in a, let's say, a tower view looking at the aircraft from the tower, and then I wanted to go back to where I was inside the aircraft, show me a way to do that in X-Plane. There isn't, but ABC lets you do that. This is the default view, but let me show it from a more non-standard view. Let's say we're looking backwards from roughly the middle of the cockpit, right? So now if I hit Shift 5 to go back to the tower view, and then I use the command, the ABC custom command that says return to cockpit. Did I hit the right one? I got to make sure I'm using the right one. Yeah, I think this is it. Yep. Takes us right back to where we were for multitasking reasons. You don't have to do that, obviously. And if you hit it again, you go back to where you were. So tower view in this case. And we could have adjusted the tower view. We could have changed the zoom. And it's the same thing. It'll go here and then it'll come back with the new zoom. You can reset the zoom. I have auto zoom turned on. Actually, I didn't. So now I do. That was auto zoom off, actually. So, yeah, there's a lot more features. I just wanted to give you that little taste. And then if you do hit like numpad 2, let's say, and then numpad 2 again, you also go back to the tower because that's how X-Plane's own toggling works. So ABC honors that for you. All right, that's it. Hopefully that was fun and exciting for those of you who'd never seen it before. Just get a better camera and install that puppy and you're good to go. There's nothing else to do. There's no configuration whatsoever needed for this particular feature, except renaming the file. That's the only thing you got to do. All right, thanks. See you later.